Unnamed Memory episode 8. And I think I mentioned this in the previous episode, but before watching this episode, I didn't actually know what was it going to be about. I mean, generally that is always happening when you're going to watch a new episode. But what I mean by this is because the last episode was the ending of a mini arc, mini story. This episode was, that type of episode where you don't really know where the story is going, what is going to happen. So of course, this episode was a big surprise for me when watching it. And of course, this is the same for all the people that watched it. Because yeah, this is a new episode, a new story. And I actually thought that the episode was going to focus around another witch. I think I speculated that in the previous episode that maybe this episode was going to be about witches, introducing a new witch, maybe her being evil or something like that. But it was actually not like that. It was actually an episode, what you can call it, a one-off or something like that. The reason I call this episode a one-off is because this episode doesn't really tie with the last episode, and I don't think it will tie with the next episode. So yeah, that is the reason why I call it a one-off, because it was not necessarily something that was really, tying in with the story of what happened in the last episode. That doesn't mean it was bad, because it was actually the opposite. It was actually very good, at least in my opinion, because it was very fun. It has some action, it has some character development, especially for Tinasha. So yeah, this episode, although a one-off, was actually very good. I wonder if the next episode is going to be like this one, another episode that is a one-off, that is an episode that only has, one episode that is focused around something and that is it. This type of episodes are normally episodes that happen between something, big. They happen when one story or mini arc ends and when another is about to start. This is when you have episodes like this, in the middle of those two things happening. Yeah, maybe the next episode could be like this one. So talking about the episode, this episode was about them exploring a situation that was happening in the border of Farsas. And apparently in the border of Farsas, there is a gang or a group of people that are called the Ito. These people apparently go village to village, basically sacking them. So yeah, because of this, Oscar, Tinasha are there to keep an eye on, and they actually get attacked by the Ito themselves. So yeah, the first part of this episode was Tinasha and Oscar, especially, Oscar, defending himself against the Ito. And we see that there is this guy called Javi that apparently wants to kidnap this girl named Else. I think that is her name. I don't know if I'm remembering wrong. But yeah, apparently he wants to kidnap her. I don't know why, but I mean, I guess there is no other reason than that. Although, given by the things that happened at the end of the episode, I think there was more to that. I actually didn't fully understand what was happening between Else and Javi. I don't know what was the relationship. I don't know if maybe I missed something, or maybe it was simply too hard to understand. I need to definitely watch it again, because it was not necessarily, something that you grasp at first sight. It was actually a little bit harder than that. But yeah, continuing with the story, Oscar easily defeats, Javi, and then something really interesting happened. And what happens is that apparently a tornado spirit, something comes out of the ground and, basically messes up the place. And yeah, Oscar and Tinasha fall into a pit, and there they fight that god, that spirit. Apparently this spirit is very ancient. This is a spirit god that the Ito people pray to, and this spirit apparently possesses people. And the other thing that this spirit does is basically figure out who has magical powers. And it was actually mentioned by Tinasha that for some reason or another, Oscar's magical powers had been sealed. I don't know why is the reason for that. It wasn't actually explained further upon. I don't know if there's something in his backstory that made that happen, but regardless, you have Tinasha fighting this spirit god, and the way that she fights the spirit is basically by absorbing the spirit into her body. And the way they finally defeat it is actually very interesting, because you have that Oscar has to now basically stab her in order to defeat the spirit. And yeah, that is basically what he does for Oscar, because he always has to do something bad to Tinasha. I think a couple of episodes ago he choked her, and then in this episode he had to stab her. So yeah, I mean, poor him, he has to do a lot of bad things to Tinasha. Although I mean, I guess this is another way of them getting closer together, because no matter what happens, Oscar will always be, by the side of Tinasha. And yeah, this is another thing that happened in this episode. Even though it was a one-off, even though it was an episode that focused on a single thing, it actually also had a lot of character development for Tinasha and Oscar. I think this is the first episode that we finally see Tinasha blushing, actually showing signs that she, is affected by the things that Oscar says. Because in the previous episodes, I mean, yeah, you can get hints that, yeah, she definitely likes, Oscar. But in this episode, it was demonstrated, it was shown very clearly that that is actually the case, that she she does actually like, Oscar. Yeah, she blushed a couple of times, and yeah, like I said a couple of times, yeah, she demonstrated that she definitely does like Oscar. So yeah, for that reason alone, you can say that this episode was very important because it advanced further the relationship between Oscar and Tinasha. So I mean, that is actually very nice to see in an episode like this, that is not necessarily, an episode that has a deep story or anything like that. It is definitely nice to see it. Also, at the beginning of the episode, we saw that Tinasha actually found a blue sphere. I don't know what that sphere is about. I don't know if it is important or something like that. I would assume it is because, I mean, there is no reason to show that in the episode if it isn't, but I could be wrong, of course. So yeah, let's see what happens with that. A lot of mystery, surrounding Tinasha. Not necessarily something bad, but yeah, a lot of mystery about her past. Even though we learned a little bit more about her past in the previous mini arc, there is still a lot of things that are, to be resolved about her. We still don't know a lot of things about her. And to add further to that, we still don't know a lot of things about Oscar. So yeah, the story of the anime, the plot, still has a lot of things to, show. It isn't like the story is running out of things to show us. So, I mean, yeah, that was the most important thing that happened in the episode. And if you don't want to miss any episode review, please subscribe to the channel. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And yeah, that will be everything by me. And I guess I'll see you all in the next episode review.